Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Beyond the Apex podcast. Today we're talking about the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which has just happened, final race of the season, and it was an absolute banger to finish it off.
Absolutely. I mean, what a season finale. I mean, probably not what we saw, when we had Max v Lewis.
No.
A little bit different, because Max already has won the championship, so yeah, but there was still some great battles, in the constructors and drivers.
Absolutely, and especially down to the last lap as well. We'll obviously talk about it when we get to Charles, but him even almost sacrificing his race nearly to try and get Ferrari P2, but the dramas throughout. But yeah, if we start off with Red Bull, it was just incredibly dominant from Max once again.
And once again, copy and paste, always is, apart from Singapore.
But obviously he surpassed the insane stat of 1,000 laps led this season, which I think there's only been two constructors. There's been 14 constructors, but only 2 constructors have ever got near 1,000 laps led in the season, and Max has done it himself. It's just unreal. And I also saw a stat on the train coming here. Obviously, you can get a maximum of 26 points per race in Formula 1. Max has averaged 26.1 points every single race weekend, obviously with sprint weekends, but he was just on another level. Obviously, we'll talk about him fully in the season recap, but just this race as well, led, I think it was 53 of the laps, absolutely dominant, no one getting near him, apart from the first lap, which the racecraft between him and Charles was unbelievable.
It was brilliant. I mean, they've been karting together since they were young, so then when they race together, they race well.
Properly.
It's proper racing.
Yeah, and he's not kind of going out to hit Charles. It's always just nice, respectful, gentlemanly racing, and that's what we saw.
Absolutely. But, I mean, you said Max more than double Checo's points, which
Pure dominance.
Yeah.
Pure dominance. And talking about Checo, it was a good comeback, although the 5-second penalty did kind of scupper his race and chances to get on the podium.
Yeah.
Was it warranted?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the penalty. Obviously, if you guys don't remember, that was going into one of the corners. He obviously turned in, and Lando was on the outside, and Lando turned in, and it did actually look like Checo kind of turned out on him, and they hit, there was contact, and the stewards decided that was a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. But I think there's a lot of, personally, I think it's a racing incident.
I thought it was a racing incident as well. It definitely wasn't what we've seen. Obviously, I think the main precedence on 5-second penalties is kind of like an Austria turn 4, where someone's going on the outside, the person on the inside hits them, and then they go off. No one really lost any time with Lando. It was just a bumping of wheels. Normally that's allowed, and I do think it was very harsh from the stewards. But at the end of the day, they're the final say, they believe that it was a penalty.
And we'll also say as well, Checo did get he got a formal warning, didn't he, for
for his radio.
He said some demeaning marks towards the stewards, which obviously we don't like to see under race for respect. So that was he got a formal reprimand for that. But yeah, we'll go on to Ferrari.
Great quali from Charles, very, very good quali. Obviously we saw from Sainz down in 16th. Charles has always had a measure of on signs in qualifying. We've clearly seen it in Abu Dhabi, and obviously we spoke about the unbelievable racing from Charles and Max. But yeah, the race was very good from Charles.
He got a good start, didn't he?
Very good start. Line. Yeah, and he was kind of really hustling Max on the first lap as well, which is great to see. But look, it was a very poor quali for Carlos, and the race was just non-existent. It wasn't there. I think he got P10 in the end, but yeah, he was basically, I think their strategy was waiting for a possible safety car, which is a classic Ferrari strategy. But yeah, it wasn't great, and obviously they missed out on P2 in the constructors. However, I was talking about this with my parents while I was watching it with, that Ferrari, this huge mega brand, isn't going to really care about the 10 million that you'd get for the increase from P2 to P3. And I think actually getting P3 might be better for them for the increase in wind tunnel time, especially for next year when they're going to be trying to bring the fight for Red Bull. So actually, I think Ferrari got the better deal out of this, getting P3.
But I think they probably knew that as well by putting Charles, should we talk about Charles giving Perez the position.
Yes.
He had the penalty, and he said on the radio, let's give Perez the position. So it probably was in the back of their mind that they, will settle for P3 because, like you said, more wind tunnel time, more time to, innovate and Yeah, because they're going to have to bring the fight. Because, I mean, McLaren next season.
Oh my god, I cannot wait for that. Obviously, we'll talk about it in the next podcast, but yeah, I cannot wait. The battle, especially, I think Red Bull's going to be leagues ahead of everyone, but the battle for P2 is going to be very exciting.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it is more of a pride for these teams getting ahead of Mercedes, for instance, and you could see that from Charles trying to hold up George to break the 5-second penalty, but he wasn't willing to risk his race for that. But yeah, it might have, as you said, it might have been in the back of their mind just to kind of settle for that P3.
Yeah, we'll settle and then bring the A game next season.
Absolutely. Yeah. But on to Merck, obviously they secured P2 in the constructors, and George with the second podium of the season, which is crazy to think that a car that's been kind of that average third, second fastest this season, and he's only got 2 podiums. It sums up George this season, I think. Obviously it was by virtue of Checo's penalty, but yeah, Lewis didn't really have the best race either.
No, he got damaged, didn't he? So not a lot he could do. For that, not the best race for Mercedes that weekend.
No, and the pace really wasn't there, which isn't promising for 2024, but hopefully they've kind of taken the foot fully off the gas early in the season to focus on 2024, but for some reason I don't think that's going to be the case.
No, neither do I, to be honest. But we'll go on to Alpine, so obviously...
Fantastic quality from Gasly.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I really don't know how he's getting that quality pace out of that car, because it really does seem to be kind of hinted to more levied towards the race pace, but yeah, getting in the top 10, absolutely fantastic, and they absolutely screwed him on strategy, allowing him to be undercut by everyone, and then kind of screwing up his pit stops as well, so that kind of forced him out the points, and then Ocon really just didn't have the race.
No, and that led to no points for the team, so that was not great for them.
It really wasn't. But yeah, let's take a break and then go on to McLaren.
Okay, so we'll move on to McLaren. I mean,
it was just kind of a medium race to finish. I mean, we had a great qualifying, and obviously Lando's mistake in the third sector meant that he kind of missed out on pole again this season. But yeah, we didn't really have the race pace to compete with the Ferraris, and obviously we did have a pit stop mistake for Lando, which meant that he kind of missed out on the podium. But yeah, it wasn't a bad race.
No, it wasn't. I just think it was just medium. There's not really much to say.
No, and obviously Piastri was, I think he was just kind of dropping back the same as Lando. I think it was P5 and P6 we got at the end, which is again a good result. We massively would have taken at the start of the season. So it's kind of showing how our thresholds increased. But yeah, it was an alright race. Going on to a very poor race, and what we've been saying this whole year with Alfa Romeo. Just no pace at all.
No, poor, no pace. The race to finish, it just wasn't there for them.
It really wasn't there. But if we move on, Théo Pourchaire.
2 lines for that, and then it's just like
Théo. Obviously, he secured the F2 championship. I am over the moon. Obviously, I'm a massive Théo Pourchaire fan. And he had me very nervous the whole weekend with his horrific qualifying. Obviously in P14, which meant he started there both races in the Formula 2 race weekend. But just, he knew what to do, he got the points, and his defending from Vesti in the feature race was unbelievable as well, on older tyres and a different compound of tyres, and he managed to hold him back for 2 laps, possibly securing his championship. I could not be prouder of him. And yeah, it was one hell of a weekend, and obviously now he's confirmed to be the 2024 reserve driver for Alfa Romeo. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he goes to Super Formula over in Asia and gets a season there to improve on his racecraft. But yeah, fingers crossed, a seat for 2025. That's what I'm hoping and praying. But yeah, he secured the F2 Championship, and I'm very, very happy with that. But yeah, on to Aston Martin. And Alonso somehow got P4 in the drivers. How he's done that, I honestly do not know.
No, I mean, it's so good to see him up in the constructors drivers again.
Absolutely.
I mean, we all love Alonso, so it was good. But yeah, I mean, equal pace with the Mercs?
I would say so. I mean, they were really, really close, and obviously possibly even had the edge on the Mercs. Obviously with Stroll coming up in P10 as well. Lovely seeing Stroll in the points again. Obviously his kind of quality of driving has increased at the end of the season. But yeah, it's roughly where they've been in the last couple of races, but securing Alonso P4 in the drivers is a good way to finish it off.
Absolutely. We'll move on to Haas now. I mean, no points, no pace.
Yeah, it's just a shame. It's kind of what we've been saying this entire time. And it is a shame for the Haas drivers because I really do think that they deserve a good car after the horrific season they've had.
Yeah.
Obviously that secures them P10 in the constructors,
Yeah.
which, I mean, if we went back to 2022 first race when K-Mag got P5, you would not have expected this kind of fall again, and it's just a shame, but tyre wear has been plaguing them, and it's exactly the same in this race.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, at the end of last podcast, we went off the Haas Haas F1 HQ.
Yeah.
And yeah,
well, I mean, obviously we got invited to a race for diversity event, so we headed up to Banbury for the evening, which was so cool. You know, parking outside of the house, walking in, and seeing the cars. I mean, I didn't know that Gene Haas got a car every year either.
Neither did I. Yeah.
And fun fact: Gene Haas gets a car with the engines every single year. Even though he doesn't start them up or run them, he just keeps the engines in them. So they are actually like 2 or 3 cars behind, aren't they?
Yeah. So they're still getting the 2021 ready.
Yeah.
So we went to the race base and they had the 2020 car, the 2021 car, and then the 2022 car. But yeah, they're still kind of catching up, which is quite funny. But it really surprised me that he gets them with the engines.
Yeah, that surprised me as well. And I think seeing the whole operation, you know, we saw the freight bays, and we saw all the stuff that goes on the sea, and then obviously the Dolabs and things like that. And they've actually got a whole new what's it called? Gantry system.
Yes.
And the amount of money that goes in to the whole, you know, Formula One circus is insane. Thinking of, you know, Haas is one of the smaller teams. They don't spend as much money as some of the other teams like Red Bull. But you can just imagine how much they spend.
Oh my God, you can imagine. And obviously that some of it's excluded from the cost cap, some of it isn't. But you can imagine for the so I think it's the motorhomes that aren't in the
but didn't they say a funny thing was because, like, for example, Red Bull's motorhome is exempt because it is to do with marketing.
Yeah, which does make sense. But they said how much Haas spent on the motorhome, and then Red Bull was just extortionately higher than that. And you can imagine how much they're spending on marketing if it's excluded from the cost cap. It's just, it must be insane.
And it was just such a good experience.
Oh God, yeah. We basically had a private tour.
Oh, well, we did.
Yeah.
So it was awesome, and to meet everyone at Haas was so cool. And we got loads of them on LinkedIn, didn't we?
Yes.
So,
great networking opportunity.
Great networking, and a really good event. But we'll move on to AlphaTauri.
Yuki, best qualifying ever in Formula One.
And also he led the race.
He led the race. Where did that come from? Honestly, for Franz Toft's final race, I'm very, very happy for them because obviously they didn't secure P7 in the constructors, which was a shame for them, but very good for Williams. But yeah, it was a great race to finish. Obviously, Yuki in P8 above. I think he didn't get above Fernando, but he did get ahead of Hamilton in his final race. And obviously, great pace from Yuki. Shame from Daniel, no real pace in quali or the race, kind of just sitting in the higher end of no points. But Yuki really is kind of cementing himself as first team leader, which is very exciting.
Also, I beg to differ, you know, how he would perform in a faster car.
Same, and I really do think that obviously we know with Aston Martin, Honda are coming in, they want a Japanese driver, so Yuki is very much on their radar. But whether kind of Red Bull are going to sweep Yuki up instead of Daniel, because if Yuki keeps this up and keeps on outperforming Daniel, they have zero reason to put Daniel in that Red Bull. Zero reason. And imagine Max and Yuki in the Red Bull, the two petulant drivers which just go for any move they can. It would be mania.
Yeah, I mean, it probably might be a good move for Red Bull.
Honestly, it might be just to secure Yuki, because if he's showing this much promise, obviously they think very highly of Daniel. Obviously, he wasn't the best in McLaren, kind of found his way a little bit more in the AlphaTauri. But if Yuki is outperforming Daniel like this, and Red Bull need to secure him, otherwise he is going to go to another team. I definitely don't think his seat in Formula One is at risk, that's for sure.
No, I agree. But we'll move on to Williams finally. I mean, obviously they got P7 in the constructors.
Very well done for them. Obviously, that's that increase in money is going to be huge for them. And obviously, very well done to James Vowles. First season as team principal for Williams, secured P7. Obviously, that car is now kind of closer to the points that it has been for the last since 2019, so about 4 years. But in this race, they had zero race pace, unfortunately. And it begs the kind of question, is Sargent at risk of losing his seat? There's been so many rumours that James Vowles is kind of looking at all the data now, just going over it before he makes that decision. But with Vesti kind of showing promise in F2, Drogovic on the sidelines, Alex Palou in IndyCar on the sidelines. I mean, could Sargent actually lose his seat?
It's possible. There is a possibility, and we've been saying it all year. It's he, as a rookie, obviously, we expect he's not going to potentially shine as much as he probably should. But he has not done very well at all.
Really not, and he's been very far away from Alex, apart from the kind of the final couple races. And he really hasn't been there. He hasn't been shown the promise that kind of Williams wanted from him, apart from Vegas, which he was just on another level for some reason. But yeah, it would be a shame for him, but I think Sargent losing his seats would be warranted.
I think so. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, neither.
But yeah, so let's wrap this up. I mean, what a season. The fact that we have done a podcast at every single race of the season is absolutely insane. I'm so proud of us for doing that.
I'm so proud of us for doing that as well too. We stuck to it, we got it through, even when I was horrifically ill at the start of the year, to me being in Spain.
And then like doing it like where we had like I was doing it at home and you were doing it at home as well. We made it work there, and also I just realised I haven't done the last one. I haven't uploaded the last one, have I?
No, but I think they're all being scheduled anyway, so
it's fine.
It'll be fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do, obviously, we're going to do a whole season recap, which will be coming out
probably a week after. Should we do it on Christmas Day?
Yeah, we'll bring it out on Christmas
Release
Day.
on Christmas Day.
So we're going to do that, and then also next year it's going to be a big change. I say this every time, so I'm really like, I want to get it sorted and stuff rather than, I mean, I like this whole setup, but I think the
plans that we have for next year are very exciting. Obviously, it will come in incrementally next season as we kind of get used to it, improve in different areas. Obviously, I think our plan for the first race is going to be very different to the actual product that we'll have probably by the end of the season. But yes, very exciting stuff, and we're going to be doing a lot more podcasts.
Oh, absolutely.
As well.
I was going to say, obviously it's going to take a while for us to get used to it, but then again, we've got so many races before the Formula 1 season starts, so Formula E and other things like that, so we can IndyCar, so we can get really used to the setup and what we're going to do. But
before Bahrain.
Absolutely, before pre-season testing. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate all the support.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you soon.